All right, so are you ready to dive into something pretty bizarre with me today?
I am always ready.
You know those moments when you kind of stumble across something that's so strange, you think, how is that even possible?
Hmm.
Well, we're going to be looking at one of those things today, and we're going to be diving deep into the Crooked Forest.
The Crooked Forest in Poland.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a place that kind of blurs the lines between natural phenomena and human intervention in a way that's both fascinating
Yeah.
and I think a little unsettling for some people.
It is, for sure, and it's a hard thing to wrap your head around when you see pictures of it. So
Yeah.
if you haven't seen a picture of this, imagine like a grove of about 400 pine trees.
Mm-hmm.
And they all have this really sharp bend at the base of the tree.
Yeah, almost a 90-degree angle in some cases.
Yeah, and they all point north.
Yeah, it's like synchronized swimming for trees.
It is really, it's like somebody came along and was like, I'm going to make all these trees do
Right.
this weird thing.
Exactly, and that's the core question, isn't it?
Yeah.
What could possibly create that kind of uniform, almost unnatural effect on living trees?
Right, and I think a lot of people's minds go immediately to something paranormal, but
Right.
could it be something as simple as human intervention?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, humans have manipulated trees and plants for centuries,
Yeah.
to produce the things they need, whether it's food or building materials or whatever.
Yeah, what about like, I don't know if this is even a thing, but like woodworkers or,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, carpenters, whatever they're called,
Yeah.
back in the, this is like the 1930s when these trees were saplings.
Right.
Would they have done something like this on purpose to create a certain kind of wood?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the leading theories is that farmers or woodworkers in that region did this deliberately.
Okay.
And they were using these trees to maybe grow, furniture or boat hulls or sled runners.
So they wanted like a forest full of rocking chair backs or something.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
yeah, it's a really visually striking image.
Yeah.
But it does beg the question of, why wouldn't there be some record of this?
Yeah, you think somebody would have written that down?
Yeah, you'd think if somebody was undertaking this massive project to bend 400 trees,
Yeah.
there'd be some documentation, some oral history, some whisper of it somewhere.
Right.
And that's one of the main counter-arguments to the human intervention theory,
Okay.
is that we just have nothing.
It's like it was purposely erased.
It's like a ghost project.
Yeah. Okay, so what if it wasn't, some kind of planned thing?
Right.
What about natural causes?
Well, that's the other sort of big bucket of theories,
Okay.
is that some kind of natural phenomenon
Yeah.
was responsible for this. And the most common idea there is heavy snowfall
Right.
or ice.
Ah.
During the tree's early years, you can imagine if you've got a young sapling
Mm-hmm.
and it gets weighed down with a ton of snow or ice,
Yeah.
it's going to bend. And then as it grows, it's going to try to reach for the sunlight.
Right. It's going to keep growing upward.
And so that bend would just become permanent.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of trees that are like bent over almost double from a heavy snowstorm.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then why wouldn't all the surrounding trees be bent like that too?
Right. That's the question that kind of haunts this theory.
Yeah.
Is that the Crooked Forest is really isolated in its contortions.
Yeah.
And the uniformity of the bend and the fact that they all point north, it's hard to imagine a random snowstorm doing that.
It's almost too precise.
It is. It's almost too precise, too patterned to be just a natural weather event.
It's like Mother Nature decided to play a joke on just this one little
Yeah.
grove of trees.
Yeah, this one little patch of forest.
Okay, so it's not humans. It's not a creek snowstorm.
Huh.
What else can it be?
Well, there's a couple of other ideas floating around. One is that it could be some kind of genetic quirk,
Oh, okay.
maybe a mutation or disease
Okay.
that affected the tree's growth pattern. So they're like the rebellious teenagers of the pine tree world. They're just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
we're not going to grow straight and tall like all you other boring trees.
It's going to be different. We're
Yeah.
going to do our own thing.
Okay, so that's an interesting idea, but then wouldn't we see evidence of that in other trees in that area?
You'd think so. And that's the problem with this theory,
Okay.
is that scientists haven't found any genetic markers that distinguish these trees from other pines in the region.
Okay.
And, they seem to be thriving,
Yeah.
which doesn't really fit with the idea of a debilitating disease.
Yeah, they seem to be doing just fine.
Yeah.
So it's either humans with ulterior motives that we don't know,
Right.
or Mother Nature being very selective with her snowstorms,
Right.
or
Yeah.
trees that have a gene that just went rogue in this one spot.
Exactly.
It's like the Crooked Forest is almost like going out of its way to be mysterious.
It really is. And that's I think, why it captures our imagination so much.
Yeah.
Because it forces us to confront the limits of our understanding.
Yeah,
We want to have a nice, neat explanation, and this just doesn't fit into that.
right.
But before we get into some of the more out there theories,
Okay.
I think it's helpful to just ground ourselves in the historical context.
Yeah, yeah. So let's rewind the clock back to the 1930s.
Okay.
What was going on in this region when these trees were just saplings? Was it a peaceful time? Were there things that could have been happening?
Well, it's interesting because at that time, the town of Gryfino, where the Crooked Forest is located, was actually part of Germany.
Oh, okay.
And the area was primarily farmland.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like these pines were most likely planted for timber,
Okay.
which was a common practice in the early 20th century.
Yeah, so this was a forest that was planted with a purpose.
Right.
Nothing really mysterious about that. But then what happened?
Well, here's where the story gets really interesting
Okay.
because, the 1930s were a tumultuous time in Europe.
Yeah,
And, of course, it culminated in the outbreak of World War II.
right.
And this region was right in the crosshairs of the conflict.
Okay.
And the war disrupted just about everything.
So maybe the war is the missing piece of this puzzle. Could it have played a role in the tree's weird growth?
It's a possibility. Yeah. Imagine the chaos of war.
Yeah.
People being displaced,
Yeah.
records being destroyed, entire landscapes reshaped.
Right.
It's not hard to imagine that whatever happened in the Crooked Forest, whether it was human-caused or natural,
Right.
it just got lost.
In the fog of war.
In the fog of war, exactly.
Yeah. So this war could have created this perfect storm of mystery.
Yeah.
We've got missing information, we've got unexplained events,
Yeah.
and then you sprinkle on top of that a little bit of human imagination to fill in those gaps.
Right.
And it's no wonder that this place continues to fascinate us.
Exactly. And what are your initial impressions?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
really grabbed your attention so far?
Well, I have to admit, I'm kind of leaning toward that human intervention angle. I find it so compelling that there could be some, secret purpose behind it, even if we don't know what it is.
Right.
But, we have to consider all the possibilities.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to do in our next segment.
Yeah, so stay tuned.
We're going to delve into some of the more unconventional theories.
Get ready to enter the world of speculation, folklore, and maybe even a touch of the paranormal.
It's going to be fun.
It is. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Crooked Forest. It's amazing to me how these trees are more than just a natural wonder. They're like a mirror reflecting our fascination with the unexplained.
Yeah, they really tap into that primal instinct we have to make sense of the world even when it doesn't make sense.
It's true. And speaking of making sense, did any of our listeners weigh in on the theories we've discussed so far?
We did actually get some fascinating responses.
Oh, really? What are people saying?
Well, it seems like a lot of our listeners are really drawn to that human intervention idea.
Yeah.
That secret project lost to history. It's a compelling narrative.
I get it. I'm kind of leaning that way myself. It's just so intriguing to think there could be a deliberate design behind all of this.
Right, even if we don't know the purpose.
Exactly. But we have to keep an open mind, right? There could be other explanations out there.
Oh, absolutely. And some of our listeners were really into the natural explanations.
Okay.
Yeah, they pointed out that while snowfall is the common theory, there could be other factors at play, like
Yeah.
unique soil composition or specific microorganisms in that area.
That's a really good point. I hadn't even considered that the soil itself could be influencing the tree's growth.
Right. It's easy to overlook those less obvious factors.
It is, and it just shows how complex nature can be.
Absolutely. And a few listeners even brought up the possibility of a localized microclimate.
Oh, like a very specific set of environmental conditions that's unique to that grove.
Exactly. And maybe that somehow contributed to the bending.
So it could be like a perfect storm of natural factors coming together to create this bizarrely beautiful phenomenon.
That's one way to look at it.
It makes you realize just how much we still don't understand about the natural world.
It really does. And that brings us back to those theories that venture into the realm of the unexplained. Those paranormal explanations we touched upon earlier.
Oh, yeah. The ones involving mystical energies and ancient curses. Those always get my attention, even if I'm not totally convinced.
Well, it's important to be skeptical, but I think it's also important to be open-minded.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Folklore and mythology often come from people trying to make sense of the things they couldn't explain.
That's true. So let's dive into some of these more unconventional ideas. Tell me about these mystical energy fields.
Okay.
What are they supposed to be, and how could they possibly affect the trees?
So the idea is that certain places on Earth have these unique energy fields, and they can influence living organisms. Some people think these fields are naturally occurring. Others attribute them to ancient civilizations or even extraterrestrial activity.
Wow. So you're saying these trees might be tapping into some kind of invisible power source?
That's the gist of it. And some proponents of this theory point out that many ancient cultures believed certain trees held sacred power.
Okay.
Like they were conduits between the physical and spiritual realms.
Interesting. So maybe the cricket forest is sitting on top of an ancient energy vortex,
It's a possibility.
and the trees are expressing that energy in their unique growth patterns.
It's a wild concept for sure.
It is. But I can see how it would appeal to people who believe in the interconnectedness of everything.
It does tap into a certain spiritual understanding of nature.
It does, for sure. What about that ancient curses theory? What do you make of that one?
Well, the Crooked Forest is near the town of Gryfino,
Right.
and that area has seen a lot of conflict over the centuries.
It has, hasn't it?
And some people believe that those conflicts, those past traumas, they might have left an energetic imprint on the land.
Oh, wow.
And that's what's manifesting in the trees.
So it's like the trees are carrying the weight of history on their bent branches.
It's a haunting thought.
It is. It really is. And it makes you wonder if there's more to this world than we can see or measure.
Definitely. And it highlights the importance of understanding the historical and cultural context when you're trying to understand a place like this.
Yeah, it's like solving a mystery. You need all the clues to get the full picture.
Exactly. And speaking of clues, there's one theory that connects the Crooked Forest to something even grander,
Okay.
the cosmos.
Wait, are we talking aliens now?
Not quite, although some people have gone there.
Okay.
But this theory focuses on the idea that the Crooked Forest was intentionally aligned with celestial bodies.
Oh, so like those bent trunks could be pointing towards specific stars or constellations?
Exactly like a giant living star chart.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's not totally out there. Ancient civilizations all over the world were fascinated by the stars.
Right. They built pyramids and Stonehenge and all sorts of things.
Exactly, and they aligned their cities and even planted trees in ways that reflected their understanding of the cosmos.
It's like they were trying to communicate with the universe.
Maybe they were.
Wow. So maybe the Crooked Forest is a message from the past.
It's possible a message we're just now starting to decipher.
That would add a whole other layer of intrigue to this place.
It would, but we have to be careful about getting carried away with speculation.
Right. We need to stay grounded.
Yeah, it's important to be open-minded, but also critical of the evidence.
Exactly. Balance our sense of wonder with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Right, because at the end of the day, we're dealing with a lot of unknowns.
We are, but that's part of the fun, isn't it?
It is.
Trying to piece together the puzzle even when we don't have all the pieces.
I think so. And who knows, maybe one day we'll find that missing piece that reveals the true story of the Crooked Forest.
Maybe, but until then, the mystery endures.
And so does our fascination with it.
It certainly does. As much as I love a good mystery, I'm starting to think that the Crooked Forest is more than just a puzzle to be solved.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, as we've been talking about all these theories, I keep coming back to the symbolism of those bent trees. It's like they represent something bigger than themselves, something about the human condition.
Interesting. What kind of symbolism are you thinking of?
I'm struck by their resilience. They were bent and contorted, but they didn't break.
Yeah.
They adapted, they kept growing, and they thrived despite their unusual shapes.
It's a powerful image.
It is, and it's something we can all relate to, right?
Absolutely. We all face challenges in life, things that try to bend us out of shape.
It's true. Life can throw some pretty gnarly curves our way.
It can, but like those trees, we find a way to keep growing, to adapt, to reach for the light, even when things get twisted.
I love that. And it makes me wonder if the true meaning of the Crooked Forest isn't about finding a definitive answer, but about embracing the mystery, the uncertainty, and finding beauty in the unexpected.
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
The Crooked Forest challenges us to look beyond the surface, to see how everything's connected, and to find meaning in the unknown.
Yeah, it's a reminder that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination.
Well said. And speaking of journeys,
Yes.
we've got one more leg of our exploration to go.
We do, and it promises to be the most unconventional yet.
That's right. In our final segment, we're going to venture into the world of cryptozoology,
Ooh,
where folklore and science collide,
I love it.
and where the line between reality and myth blurs in the shadow of the Crooked Forest.
Get ready to explore the world of mythical creatures and unexplained phenomena where the impossible might just be possible. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back, and we are ready to go even deeper into the Crooked Forest.
That's right, we're going where few have dared to go before.
That's right, we are heading straight into the realm of cryptozoology.
Ooh.
Yeah, so get ready for some some pretty wild stuff.
I love cryptozoology. It's such a fascinating field.
Yeah, it
It's a
is.
little controversial, but it's definitely fascinating.
For sure. So for those who may not be familiar,
Yeah.
what exactly is cryptozoology?
Well, basically, it's the study of creatures that haven't been officially recognized by science.
Okay, so we're talking about like Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster,
Yep.
all those legendary creatures that people have been talking about for centuries.
That's right. Creatures that are said to exist, but we don't have any hard scientific evidence to prove it.
Right. So how does this tie into the crooked forest? I mean, are we saying there could be a Bigfoot hiding out among those bent trees?
Well, not necessarily Bigfoot, but the thing about the crooked forest is it's just so strange.
It is.
So mysterious. It's the perfect breeding ground for speculation.
I can see that.
You've got these weirdly shaped trees. No one can definitively explain how they got that way.
Right.
And people love a good mystery.
They do, and we like to fill in the blanks with our imaginations.
Exactly, and that's where cryptozoology comes in.
So are there any specific cryptids that have been associated with the crooked forest or that region of Poland?
Well, Polish folklore is full of stories about supernatural beings.
Okay, like what?
Well, one that comes to mind is the Lishi.
The Lishi, okay, I've never heard of that.
It's basically a forest spirit, often depicted as a humanoid figure that kind of blends in with the trees.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's a protector, sometimes it's a trickster. It all depends on its mood.
So maybe the Lishi is the one who bent all those trees.
It's possible, but
Yeah.
that's getting into the realm of mythology.
Right.
What we're really interested in as cryptozoologists is evidence.
Tangible proof.
Exactly. Have there been any sightings, any footprints, any strange sounds that could point to the presence of an unknown creature?
Okay, so has there been anything like that reported in the crooked forest?
Well, there have been some anecdotal reports of strange lights and unexplained sounds.
Okay.
Some locals claim to have seen shadowy figures moving among the trees, but,
Yeah.
it's hard to say how much of that is just folklore or overactive imaginations.
It is hard to separate fact from fiction, especially in a place like this.
It is, but even without hard evidence, it's fun to think about the possibilities.
It is. I love a good what if.
Right. What if there really is something out there, something we haven't discovered yet?
What if the crooked forest is home to a creature that's completely unknown to science?
Maybe one day we'll have our answer. But until then, we can enjoy the mystery.
I think that's a great takeaway from all of this.
Yeah.
It's okay to not know all the answers sometimes. The not knowing is what makes things interesting.
I agree. The crooked course is a reminder that there are still things in this world that defy explanation.
Yeah. It's a reminder that there's still room for wonder and awe and a little bit of magic in our lives.
Exactly. And I think that's a good place to wrap things up.
Yeah, I think so too. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have from the scientific to the speculative, from the historical to the mythical.
And yet, the crooked forest remains an enigma.
It does a testament to nature's ability to surprise and mystify us.
Absolutely. So, to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never lose that sense of wonder.
The world is full of mysteries, just waiting to be uncovered.
And maybe, just maybe, you'll be the one to crack the code of the crooked forest.
Happy exploring, everyone!
See you next time.